Hey everybody, it's Justin Miller and I'm back again, and I am joined today by Matthew Brady, and it's just fun to talk to all these missionaries that have coming home for various reasons. Matthew, why don't you start by telling us where you are returning from?
I served in the Texas San Antonio mission.
Texas San Antonio mission. I try to get my kids to yell out the window, "Stars at night are big and bright." During the parade, they're like, "Why would we ever say that?" I'm like, "Just do it, he'll get it." Every
Heard
house in
that a couple
Texas has a
times.
star on it and a flag,
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah. So you were Texas San Antonio, and tell us a little bit about what that mission is like.
Okay. It's it's a really big mission. We covered all of San Antonio. We went down to the border. Um,
When you say border, are you
and
talking about Mexico?
yeah, so we went down to a town called Eagle Pass in Del Rio. Um, and then we also covered Austin and the surrounding areas there. So we had a really big mission, so big, and the work was really progressing. And so this coming July, they're actually going to be splitting it. So that was really exciting.
Where's the new mission? Like, is it going to be the Austin mission and then San Antonio mission, or will it be down
Uh,
like Brownsville or something like that?
yeah, so it will be the Austin, Texas mission, and it will bring in part of the Dallas Fort Worth mission. Um, I think Waco will be in that mission, in the Austin mission.
Okay, cool. So did you get to all the corners of the mission, or where were you mostly? That's a better
I
question.
actually didn't. I stayed really all most of my areas. So I served in four areas. So I was in my first area, a city called Cibolo and Shirts. I was there for 9 months. And then my second area was it was the Bulverde and Stone Oak area, and it was right around the temple. So I was able to live just right on the street of the temple, and that was amazing. I was there for 6 months, and then I served in a town called New Braunfels. That was a pretty big city. That
Hmm.
was about 80,000 people. That was a really fun one. I was actually right next to Cimarron Shirts, and then I finished my mission on the west side of San Antonio.
So we almost moved to San Antonio before we moved to Utah, and we were going to
Oh,
live in
really?
Stone Oak. Yep, the
Okay.
house we picked out, you could see the temple from the front door.
Wow.
So it was pretty. I know that I can picture that area. That's this
It
cool
is a
area.
really pretty area.
Um, all right, back to you. So tell us about jeans and boots. I
Jeans and
understand
boots.
that there was a time where it was necessary for you to be a missionary that wore lots of jeans and boots.
Yeah, there was. There was. Yeah, I was at the beginning of my mission. We would every every week, at least once, we would go to this member's home. It was a part member family, and so we would go and they had a bunch of horses, and so we would go. They'd cook us lunch, and then for 3 hours we'd go and scoop poop, and and it you either
Celestial
got some,
service.
yeah, and you learned how to breathe through your mouth really well. So, but it you chose it was either boots or tennis shoes, and if you wore the tennis shoes, you were coming home a little bit extra dirty. So I opted for the cowboy boots.
It's not a myth, ladies and gentlemen. You get to wear boots on your mission in Texas.
You get to wear boots.
Um, so that reminded me a minute ago. I wanted to go back. You said the work was really progressing, and that's why they were splitting the mission. And your dad was starting to tell me a little bit last night in the car window. Tell us about the work in Texas and how it's progressing.
Okay, so when I first got into the mission, um, we it was going well. People, well, I guess in Texas, people are very religious. They're very Christian, but they appreciate what you do, but they really don't want to have anything to do with it. Um, they're very nice about it most of the time. Um, and so we would, as a mission, we would find about um, over 100 people a week, which it compared to how it was when I left, that wasn't very good. That would be a very bad week. Um, and that's a new person being taught. So they had been taught a principle, and we had scheduled a return appointment with them. And then we got a new mission president, and everything really just changed. I was able to serve around him quite a bit, and so it was exciting to see the energy that he had. Our mission president, he was 50 years old. He was a dentist from Washington, and he had 5 kids from 18 years old, and then the youngest is now 1 year old. And so it definitely brought a different atmosphere and vibe to the mission when he came. But we really started focusing on, we would go to meetings together and we would talk about how we can help the mission. And we really just wanted to focus on finding people. Because once you find people to teach, then you're able to invite them to church. You're able to invite them to be baptized. But everything starts with finding people to teach. And so that was our focus for probably a really good 3 months. We focused on that, and we hit 200 people a week, and that was exciting. And then at the end of 2019, we had a week where we found 318 people. The week before, we had found 260 maybe. So it was a really big jump. And
Wow.
And then after that week, there hasn't been a week since we haven't found over 300 people. And before this whole virus came along, we had just started to reach 400 people a week. And because of that, our numbers of baptisms was going up a lot. We would have a hard time baptizing 40 people in the mission. But then that was like our goal, and that was a really lofty goal. It was almost unreachable most months until we got our new mission president, and everything really changed, where that was very doable, and we were setting goals for 50 people. But something that I really liked what our mission president would talk about was he always, numbers are important. They tell a story, but they don't tell the story. And when we talk about numbers, we really need to focus on the individual people, because that's who it's about. Every single number is a child of God. And so we need to focus on them and how they can progress towards their Savior and have a relationship with him.
Yeah, that's a great point. What do you think really was what do you attribute the change to? Was it something he taught, or a way the missionaries focused differently? Like, what made the difference?
He was really good at teaching principles. I think so that helped us change our attitude of principles. We do this because of this. Any kind of rule, instead of you're a missionary, you have to follow this. But I think it was really, he taught the missionaries how to find the joy in missionary work. Because that's really what changed. That's how it changed for me, was when I found the joy in it, everything changed. You were fine getting up at 6:30. You were fine going and walking outside in the middle of the summer in 110 degrees, and it's humid, and you're wearing a white shirt and a tie, and you're knocking on people's doors, and every other door gets slammed in your face. But you were doing it because you knew that that's what you were called to do, and that it was just being able to share one little thing about the gospel would make your day. And I think that's really what changed.
How did you find that?
I'll be honest, that didn't come easy. Ironically, it came when I was the hardest area I was in. My second area, right around that temple, it's a pretty wealthy area, and so people didn't want. They thought they were good. But I remember it's changed when I was reading the Book of Mormon. Before my personal study, I said, Heavenly Father, I'm going to read in the Book of Mormon today. Can you lead me to a verse that I can share with someone? Just let me find something in the Book of Mormon or the scriptures to share with someone else. And I asked that I'd be able to help memorize what I studied that day, that I'd be able to turn to it. And then that day we were out talking to people. We started talking to someone and getting to know their story. I really don't even remember the story of this man, but then I just remembered, oh my goodness, I read a verse today in the Book of Mormon that is perfect for him, and I shared it with him, and the spirit was strong, and he even recognized it. He said, "Oh, well," at the end, he said, "I'm grateful I talked to you guys because I felt something different that I hadn't heard before. Um, so I'm grateful for that." We said, "Well, can we meet
That's
with you
pretty
again?"
cool.
"No, I'm not interested." We're like, "Okay, well," but I learned that it wasn't about what people chose to do. You can't control someone's agency, and so it was when I was able to bring the spirit to other people. That's really when my mindset changed, when I was able to feel the joy of missionary work.
That's profound and mature. That's great. I like that story a lot. So you were in I think you said 18 months, right? So in 18 months, you
Yeah.
were in 4 areas. Did you get to know the members super well in those 4? I mean, did it feel like every time you transferred, you were leaving your home ward or something?
Definitely my first two areas. So I was in my first area for 9 months, second area for 6 months, and my second area, my third area, I was there for just about 3 months. So I kind of got to know the members, but not really well. And then just my last month of the mission was really bizarre. I really was only in the ward for 2 weeks, and then we were pretty much shut in our apartment. So it was hard to get
Yeah,
to know them. But yeah, definitely my first two areas. I just love. I have some great relationships from the first area I served in. That's actually the ward that the Shane's parents were in. So I got to know them and be able to go with them. I was there at their house one for my first Christmas, and it was great. I loved it.
yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, small world, huh? So when you think back about all the people you met while you were in Texas, tell us about some of the people who come to mind.
There was one family, the Cheneys. Um, they were just they were great. They they were just elders. If you ever need anything, let us know. Don't be afraid to text us. A lot of people say that. A lot of members say that to us, but you could see through it. You could see their desires
Please
of it.
don't. Please don't.
um, but they really meant it, and you could tell. And every the last couple months I was there, every Monday night we would go and we'd have dinner with them. We would have to take an out. We usually didn't have dinner on our P day, so we would, because we were supposed to be out proselyting, so we would end our P day an hour early so we could go have dinner with them, and then for a couple minutes we would do family home evening with them.
Fun.
So we were able just to get really close with them. So it was great to be with them.
Cool.
Some other members I can think of, just a couple families that would really they were really good at just helping the people that we taught. Um, they would any way that they could fellowship them, any way they could befriend them. That was their goal, and they knew that that's how they were going to do missionary work, and so they did it, and they did it really well.
That makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about someone that you watched make changes in their life and what that was like. Either they embraced the gospel or they got back on the path, like whatever the situation was, but just what was it like to watch somebody change?
I think that really was the best part about serving a mission, was seeing how the gospel would change them and what the Spirit could do to someone. Um, there was one, there was a lady that I taught, um, and she was found the day before I got in the area. And then my second day there was our first real lesson with her. And we sat down, started talking about the restoration, about why our church is different, what the church really is, that it's Jesus Christ Church, and what that means. And she was interested. And we said, um, well, would you like to come to church with us tomorrow? And she said, well, I haven't been to church since I was a child, but I'm very religious, very spiritual. But sure, yeah, I'll go. And so she came. She was a single woman. She was in her 70s, so she was kind of lonely. So the social aspect of church was huge for her. But she came to church that next day, and from when she was baptized, she only missed one Sunday because she was visiting her grandson. Um, and so for 8 weeks, she was there. She was coming consistently, and she loved it. But I saw how she got first. She started reading the Book of Mormon only when we were with her. Then she would read. She would just flip open to it. I'm pretty sure she hasn't even read from like a chapter to chapter to chapter. She always just flips open to it. But she started by doing that, and then I remember she got a new TV, and it was a big flat screen TV right in her front room. And she would tell us about how she could watch all these general conference talks, and it felt like they were just right there in her room because they were so big. And so she started having conference on YouTube all the time. It was always on whenever she was cooking, whenever she was at home. She was always listening to conference talks, because how she said it just made her feel good. And so seeing and then now after I left the area, I always would talk to the missionaries who were there. How is she doing? How's she doing? There before I left, she had a job at Costco, and it was a pretty busy job. She was working on Sundays a lot, and she really didn't like it. And she kept threatening them a couple of times. Hey, I need to go to church. You need to let me go and get off on Sundays so I can go to church. And they never did it. And so finally, she quit her job just so she could go to church, because it meant so much to her. And she really made it a focus in her life, and she really changed everything about
Wow.
her daily routine to align with the gospel.
That's a great story and a great profile of faith. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's changed everything,
Yeah.
literally. Wow. Um, Man, this has been great. We got to keep it kind of short because YouTube gets a little funny if we're too long. But wow, what a great! It sounds like you had a great experience, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course. Happy to.
And we look forward to seeing you walking the dog after the quarantine gets lifted.
Yeah, well, I think I will probably do it before, because it sounds like my mom's going to make me every day. So I'm sure you'll see me doing laps.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
All right.